Hello students, welcome you all to our second session of our science chapter number 8, that is motion. Students, yesterday we have studied regarding some of our topics like motion, then distance, displacement, uniform and non-uniform motion. Then we have studied regarding speed and velocity. Okay, today we are continuing with our topics. Students, our today's first topic is acceleration. Okay, so let us define acceleration. The change in velocity of an object per unit time. Once again, change in the velocity of an object per unit time is known as acceleration. मतलब किसी भी ऑब्जेक्ट की जब वेलोसिटी इंक्रीज या डिक्रीज होती है, उसकी स्पीड इंक्रीज या डिक्रीज होती है, तो उसको हम बोलते हैं एक्सेलरेशन. Okay, so how will you define once again acceleration? Change in velocity of an object per unit time. And what is the formula for acceleration? Acceleration is equals to change in velocity upon time taken. Okay, now what do you mean by change in velocity? Suppose उसका initial velocity u था और इसका final velocity क्या है? v. Suppose the velocity, initial velocity of an object is u and its final velocity is v. Then what will, and the change in velocity is in the time t. Then what will be the formula for acceleration? Acceleration का formula होता है change in velocity upon time taken. So therefore a equals to what? Change in velocity. And what is change in velocity? Final velocity minus initial velocity. Okay, that is called change in velocity. So what is the formula now? A equals to v minus u upon t. Final velocity minus initial velocity upon time taken. Okay, this is known as acceleration. Now, what is the SI unit of acceleration? The SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. Meter per second square. Once again, remember students, the SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. Now, let us understand about another term known as retardation or deceleration. Retardation or deceleration. Yes, it is the opposite of acceleration. Students, whenever the velocity of an object increases, okay, initial से final velocity increase हुआ, speed बढ़ गई गाड़ी की, then at that time it is known as acceleration. Increase in velocity, it is known as acceleration. That is positive acceleration. But when the speed of the vehicle, velocity of the vehicle decreases, ओके जब कभी हम कोई स्पीड से जा रहे हैं और अचानक से सामने कोई ऑब्स्टेकल आ जाता है, तो व्हाट वी डू, वी अप्लाई ब्रेक्स and hence the velocity of the vehicle decreases. And when the velocity decreases, at that time the acceleration is negative, and this negative acceleration is known as retardation. So what is retardation? Negative acceleration. Whenever the velocity of an object decreases, the acceleration is negative, and such negative acceleration is known as retardation or deceleration. Okay students? Same, the SI unit of retardation is also meter per second square, because retardation is nothing else, it is negative acceleration. Now students, let us start another topic, that is graphical representation of motion. Yes, now we are going to represent different types of motion through graphs. Okay, to describe the motion of an object, we can use line graphs. हम लोग कोई बार ग्राफ या ऐसा कोई ग्राफ, पाई ग्राफ नहीं यूज कर रहे हैं. मोशन, किसी भी ऑब्जेक्ट के मोशन को डिस्क्राइब करने के लिए हम लोग लाइन ग्राफ्स यूज करते हैं. इन दिस केस, line graphs show dependence of one physical quantity such as time or velocity on another physical quantity such as time. Once again students, in this case line graphs shows dependence of one physical quantity such as distance or velocity. Okay, distance या velocity का हम लोग time के respect से ग्राफ बना के देते हैं. मतलब अभी हम लोग दो तरह के ग्राफ्स पढ़ने वाले. One is distance time graphs and another is velocity time graphs. Okay, let us go for now graphical representation of motion. Our first type of graph which we are going to study is distance time graphs. Okay students, now we are going to study distance time graphs. You can see on the screen there are three graphs. Okay, the first type of distance time graph. What do you mean by distance time graph? See on students, on the x-axis you have taken time and on y-axis we have taken distance. x-axis पे क्या लिया time और y-axis पे क्या लिया distance. Okay, जो पहला ग्राफ है it represents what? Uniform speed. Okay, it is the graph showing uniform speed. Okay, the first graph represents distance time graph of an object moving with uniform speed. And what is the type of graph? It is a line graph passing through origin. आप देख सकते हो कि ये एकदम स्ट्रेट ग्राफ है जो ओरिजिन में से पास होके आगे जा रहा है. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, नाउ द सेकेंड ग्राफ शोज द ग्राफ ऑफ एन ऑब्जेक्ट विच इज एट रेस्ट. यस, अगर कोई ऑब्जेक्ट अगर रेस्ट पोजीशन पर है, मतलब वो मूव ही नहीं कर रहा है, हिल नहीं रहा है, ओके, उस तरह का ग्राफ आप देख सकते हैं. इट इज अ लाइन पैरेलल टू एक्स एक्सिस, एकदम स्ट्रेट लाइन है जो एक्स एक्सिस को क्या है, पैरेलल है. सो इट इज द डिस्टेंस टाइम ग्राफ ऑफ एन ऑब्जेक्ट विच इज एट रेस्ट. Now you can see the third graph. This is the distance time graph which represents the non-uniform motion. Okay, let us take an example that the motion of a car. कार का मोशन कभी भी यूनिफॉर्म तो होगा नहीं, उसकी स्पीड इंक्रीज या डिक्रीज होती रहेगी. तो उस तरह का मोशन क्या होता है, नॉन यूनिफॉर्म मोशन होता है. तो उस समय ग्राफ ऐसा बनता है. यू कैन सी द कर्व. ओके, इट इज स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम ओरिजिन एंड इट इज गोइंग अपवर्ड्स, बट इट इज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ए कर्व. सो दिस ग्राफ रिप्रेजेंट्स द ग्राफ ऑफ नॉन यूनिफॉर्म स्पीड. वंस अगेन स्टूडेंट्स, ये जो तीन ग्राफ आप देख रहे हैं, दे आर डिस्टेंस टाइम ग्राफ्स. The first case shows the distance time graph of an object moving with uniform speed. The second graph shows the distance time graph for an object which is at rest. And the third graph shows the distance time graph of an object which is traveling with non-uniform speed. Okay students, so kindly remember these graphs. Okay, you have to practice these graphs. Now let us study the uses of these graphs. Yes, what are the uses of these graphs? Students, these distance time graphs have some uses also. So let us study those uses. Okay, the first use is it tells us about the position of the body at any instant of time. किसी भी समय पर कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट किस पोजीशन पे है वो हमको डिस्टेंस टाइम ग्राफ से पता पड़ जाएगा. While studying the distance time graph, we can locate the position of the object at any instant of time. That is the first use. Second use, from the graph, we can see the distance covered by the body during a particular interval of time. Okay, we can study from the graph. आप ग्राफ में देख के बता सकते हो कि कितने समय में ऑब्जेक्ट ने कितना डिस्टेंस कवर किया है. Okay, and what is the third use? It also gives us the information about the velocity of the body at any instant of time. Okay, आपको velocity के बारे में भी information मिल जाएगा किसी भी समय पे आपको चाहिए. So once again, what are the uses of distance time graphs? The first use is it tells us about the position of the body, okay, at any instant of time. The second use is from the graph we can see the distance covered by the body during a particular interval of time. And the third use is it also gives us information about the velocity of the body at any instant of time. Students, you have to study the graphs as well as its uses. Okay? Now students, let us go through now velocity time graphs. Okay students, in the previous section now we have studied distance time graphs. Now we are going to study now velocity time graphs. The first velocity time graph which you are seeing on the screen is for the object traveling with constant speed, that is uniform speed. जब कोई object uniform speed से travel करता है तो उसका graph कैसा होता है? It is a straight line which is parallel to x-axis. The first graph which you are seeing is for the object traveling with constant speed. Okay, you can see that the graph is a straight line which is parallel to x-axis. Now the second graph which you are seeing on the screen is for an object traveling with uniform acceleration. जब कोई ऑब्जेक्ट यूनिफॉर्म एक्सेलरेशन से ट्रैवल करता है तो उसका ग्राफ कैसा होता है? इट इज ऑल्सो अ स्ट्रेट लाइन बट पासिंग थ्रू ओरिजिन. ओरिजिन में से पास होकर स्ट्रेट लाइन ऊपर जा रहा है. ओके, Now, the third graph which you are seeing on the screen is for an object traveling with non-uniform acceleration. You can see that in the non-uniform acceleration, which type of graph is there? It is a curved line moving upwards. Okay, ऐसे ऊपर की तरफ जा रहा है लेकिन एक curved line है because it is non-uniform acceleration. And the fourth graph which you are seeing, okay, is what? It is the graph for an object traveling with non-uniform retardation. स्टूडेंट्स थर्ड और फोर्थ केस में क्या फर्क है? थर्ड केस में एक्सेलरेशन है, मतलब स्पीड इंक्रीज हो रही है, और फोर्थ केस में क्या है? रिटार्डेशन, मतलब नेगेटिव एक्सेलरेशन, स्पीड डिक्रीज हो रही है. इसी के लिए ग्राफ नीचे की तरफ आ रहा है इन अ कर्व्ड लाइन, बिकॉज नॉन यूनिफॉर्म है तो कर्व्ड होगा, और एक्सेलरेशन होगा तो ऊपर की तरफ कर्व, और रिटार्डेशन होगा तो नीचे की तरफ कर्व. In this way, we have seen 4 graphs. One is for constant speed, straight line parallel to x-axis. Other is for what? Uniform acceleration. Then non-uniform acceleration and non-uniform retardation. In this way, we have seen 4 graphs of velocity time graph. Now, students, let us study regarding the uses of velocity time graph. ओके जिस तरह से हमने डिस्टेंस टाइम ग्राफ के यूजेस देखे थे, नाउ वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी द यूजेस ऑफ वेलोसिटी टाइम ग्राफ. द फर्स्ट यूज इज टू डिटरमिन द स्पीड ऑफ अ बॉडी एट एनी इंस्टेंट ऑफ टाइम. यूजिंग वेलोसिटी टाइम ग्राफ यू कैन फाइंड द स्पीड ऑफ अ बॉडी एट एनी टाइम. किसी भी समय पे आपको बॉडी की स्पीड जाननी हो तो आप वेलोसिटी टाइम ग्राफ से जान सकते हैं. सेकेंड पॉइंट, टू डिटरमिन द एक्सेलरेशन ऑफ अ बॉडी. आपको किसी भी समय पे बॉडी का एक्सेलरेशन चाहिए तो आप एक्सेलरेशन भी फाइंड कर सकते हो. And the third point is to determine the total distance traveled by a body in a given time interval. Okay, किसी भी बॉडी ने कितने समय में कितना डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल किया वो भी आप वेलोसिटी टाइम ग्राफ से जान सकते हैं. Okay students, these are the 3 uses of velocity time graph. What are the uses? To determine the speed of a body at any instant of time, to determine the acceleration of a body at any time, and to determine the total distance traveled by a body in a given interval of time. These are the uses of velocity time graph. Okay. So students, by this we end our session. In this session we have studied regarding the definition of acceleration, retardation, that is deceleration. Then we have seen the graphical representation of motion. We have studied regarding 3 graphs of distance time graph and 4 of what? Velocity time graphs. और हमने डिस्टेंस टाइम ग्राफ और वेलोसिटी टाइम ग्राफ दोनों के यूजेस भी देखे हैं. स्टूडेंट्स, दिस ग्राफिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इनके ग्राफ्स आपको ड्रॉ भी करके रख लेने के अपने पास. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, वी विल मीट इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन विद द डेरिवेशन ऑफ इक्वेशंस ऑफ दिस मोशन. ओके, उसके लिए हम वीडियो में आएंगे. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, टिल देन टेक केयर.